Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube NFL predictions segment, I'm going to be giving you my predictions for Week 9 of the 2014-15 NFL season. Now, first game, I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints on the road over the Carolina Panthers. Now, I understand New Orleans has not won a road game this season, but there is a first time for everything. The team has been on, I call a little mini rampage of late. They're second in passing yards. Their Achilles heel right now is their opposition passing yards, which they are 31st. But the team has played well in recent weeks, and I think Carolina is going in the opposite direction. They're 1-4-1 in their last 6 games, and Cam Newton and company are obviously not playing to expectations. I know they had the departure of wide receiver Steve Smith, but I don't know if you could put all the blame on that. So I am taking the Saints to pull this off at home. I think they're starting to go in the right direction. Now, the next game, I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns at home over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Cleveland has obviously surpassed expectations up to this point. Yeah, they had a lamentable performance in that one game against Jacksonville. Other than that, they have looked at least fairly decent in all the other weeks they played up to this point. Free safety to Sean Gibson is leading the NFL in interceptions with 5. Tampa Bay has some things going for them. They have linebacker Levante David is second in tackles in the league this season with 80, but they might have to do a lot of tackling in this game against Cleveland. I look for Cleveland to have a decent offensive game, and they are at home, and I predict they will get the victory. Now, the next game, I'm going to take Dallas at home over the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Dallas has dominated the Arizona Cardinals in recent history. They've won 5 consecutive. They've won by a 158-37 margin in that period. I know there's a number of people that think, well, what if Tony Romo is not 100%? I don't see the Dallas Cowboys playing poorly 2 consecutive games at home. I think there's a plethora of talent on this team. I think their running game will get going with DeMarco Murray. Arizona is however, has played very well against the run this season. They're 3rd in opposition rushing yards at 77.9 per game. Now, their only 2 road wins have come against teams with losing records, so I want to see if they could do this on the road. I'd like Dallas in this one. Now, the next game, I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles on the road over the Houston Texans. This game is what we call, I look at this as a toss-up game. I was in ambivalent city as far as this game goes, but Philadelphia, they have played obviously very well this season, number 6 in passing yards. They lost a tight one against Arizona last week in the final minutes. Could have easily conceivably won that game. Now, Houston's kind of up and down. On the negative side with the Houston Texans, they're 28th in opposition passing yards, so they're going to give up a number of yards, I believe, in the passing game to Philadelphia. And Philadelphia, with their high tempo, kind of unorthodox way they go about their offense, I don't know if Houston's going to be able to contain this as far as they go on defense. Now, Houston's only defeated 1 team with a winning record this year as well, and that was the Buffalo Bills, and that was like by 6 or 7 points. So anyway, I'm going to take Philadelphia on the road. The next game, I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs over the New York Jets. Now, don't be too bewildered by this prediction. Kansas City's 1-4-5 average margin of victory, 19 points in those wins. Their pass defense is, I believe, number 1 in the NFL. The New York Jets, I mean, I'm a New York Jets fan, but the way they've looked at it is just ignominious. I mean, minus 13, it's the worst turnover differential in the NFL. They only have 1 win to their name. They're going to try to, they're going to put Michael Vick in as starting quarterback this week. They were talking about, I saw on the internet that somebody had an idea of terminating one of the higher-ups on the New York Jets, and it just seems to me that this team is going nowhere fast, and Kansas City is at home. They're on a roll. and I like them to prevail in this game. Now the next game, I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals at home over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Cincinnati defeated the Jaguars the last 2 times they played, and it was 30. They beat them 30-20 in 2011, fairly decisively. And Cincinnati is just they're everything, I mean, but invincible. They're at home. They're 12-0-1 in their last 13 home games. Jacksonville is last in scoring offense. They're just pitiful on the offensive end, and they give up over 27 points a game on defense. Yeah, they had that one good win at home over Cleveland. They have to go on the road now, and they're not. I don't see them winning. I like the Bengals at home. Now, the next game, this is another toss-up where I think a strong argument can be made either way for these teams. Now, I'm taking San Diego on the road to beat the Miami Dolphins. Now, for San Diego, quarterback Philip Rivers threw for 298 yards last season against Miami, and they still found a way to lose. They lost 20-16. That was a very tight, competitive game. Now, Miami quarterback Ryan Tannehill has played very well. They've won 3 of 4. They're kind of getting in their groove right now, with the exception if they lost to Green Bay by 3 points with a little trickeration by a guy by the name of Aaron Rodgers. But other than that, they would have been flawless in the last 4. But they did lose that game. San Diego has lost 2 consecutive. I don't see them losing 3 in a row. I think they're going to be ready for this game, and they'll beat Miami in a highly contested battle, I see. Now, the next game, I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings at home over the Washington Redskins. I know quarterback Colt McCoy looked stellar in the last game. He astonished me. He played very well against the Cowboys, almost nearly an infallible, flawless game. However, they're talking about the possibility of RG3 coming back to play for Washington, and I don't really know if he's going to be able to get the job done if he plays or not. I mean, he's very injury prone, obviously. He's played very sporadically in recent time with the Redskins. Now, Minnesota, the one thing, they got some things going for them. They'll be at home. They're the number 4 passing defense in the NFL, and we're just I'm not convinced that Washington can necessarily pull together 2 consecutive wins. So, in Minnesota, on virtue of being at home, I'm going to take them to win at home. Now, the next game, I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers at home over St. Louis Rams. Now, San Francisco, we talk about invincibility. They're 15-0-1 in their last 16 home games against the NFC West. I mean, you talk about it being indomitable against your opponents at home. St. Louis 2-5, 31st in opposition rushing yards. It could be a field day for the running game for San Francisco. St. Louis is 28th in total offense. They can't move the ball. San Francisco 4-3. They pretty much know this is like a must game, and they won't get complacent. This is a game they will take and they will win. Now the next game, another toss-up. What do you know? I'm going to take the Denver Broncos on the road over the New England Patriots. Denver is number 1 in scoring offense, 32 points per game. 3rd in total defense. It's a very well-balanced team, and they have a better defense than they did last season when they lost the nail-biter at New England. Now, New England has been on their rampage. They've been, I mean, they annihilated Chicago last week. They're obviously in a groove. I wouldn't be shocked if they won this game, but I'm still taking Denver. New England is 3rd in scoring offense, and they're at their plus 11 turnover differential is the best in the NFL. But I'm still taking the Denver Broncos in a competitive game over the Patriots. Now, the next game, I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks at home over the Oakland Raiders. Now, Seattle, though losing their invincibility and dominance that they've shown at home, they still are good enough to beat Oakland. Oakland hasn't won a game this year, as most of you know. They're last in first downs. They can't move the ball, obviously. And to me, Seattle, as long as they don't take Oakland for granted, there shouldn't be a problem in them defeating the Oakland Raiders. I like the Seahawks at home in this one. Now, Pittsburgh at home. If you asked me several weeks ago who I thought would win this game, I would have gone with Baltimore. But I'm going to take Pittsburgh at home. They've looked very impressive. Their last two outings, they seem to have gotten things together after that debacle that they suffered at the hands of the Cleveland Browns. Now, Pittsburgh looks like they're getting their mojo back to me. They're number 2 in total offense. I think they put like 51 points on the board last week. Roethlisberger had a career game. He had 6 touchdown passes and over 500 yards thrown. And I mean, this could be a little ominous for Baltimore. Now, Baltimore, even though the defense, I say, is not quite as ravenous, they're still one of the better defensive teams in the NFL. This is a divisional rivalry, and their games seem to be notorious for being very tightly contested and competitive, but I'm still taking Pittsburgh at home. Now, last but not least, I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts on the road over the New York Giants. Now, the Colts, they had some defensive issues last week against Pittsburgh. I think the defense was a little exposed and exploited. They're going to have to make some modifications that way if they want to beat the Giants. I think they'll make the adjustments enough because the Giants, obviously, to me, they're not as good as the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. And I don't see Andrew Luck and the Colts dropping 2 consecutive. Now, the Giants are kind of that vacillating up and down team. They're unpredictable. They could come out and really, if they're on their A game, they could beat Indianapolis. But I see the Colts winning this more likely in a competitive game, and I'm taking the Indianapolis Colts in this one. Now, let me just go to the computer screen real quickly, people, and run down my predictions for Week 9 of this 2014-15 NFL season momentarily. So hold on. Okay, people, here we go. Saints over Carolina, Browns over Tampa Bay, Dallas over Arizona, Philadelphia over Houston, Kansas City over New York Jets, Cincinnati over Jacksonville, San Diego over Miami, Minnesota over Washington, San Fran over St. Louis, Denver over New England, Seattle over Oakland, Pittsburgh over Baltimore, last but not least, Indy over my New York Giants. Well, people, that'll conclude this YouTube NFL prediction segment for Week 9 of the NFL season 2014-15. And stay tuned next time where I'll be giving you my picks and analysis for Week 10 of the 2014-15 NFL season. Until next time, people, this is Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.